Thank you for joining us. The number of coronavirus cases reported in India since the start of the pandemic has exceeded 20 million. It came as the Health Ministry announced more than 300,000 infections for the 13th straight day. And with nearly 3,500 deaths in the last 24 hours, the number of fatalities has topped 220,000. The surge in cases has brought hospitals close to collapse. On Monday, 24 patients died after yet another health facility ran out of oxygen. Let's speak to our India correspondent, Elizabeth Puranam, who joins us live from New Delhi. So, India passing 20 million cases, Liz, but the government saying infection rates are slowing down?
That's right, Folly. We heard from the Health Minister on Monday, the Health Ministry rather, and they were talking about how cases in some of the worst affected places, Maharashtra has been the worst affected throughout this pandemic over the past year, but also in Delhi and Chhattisgarh, that they are beginning to see that cases are starting to plateau there. But the problem is that India is still not conducting enough tests to know the real number of infections. That's been the story in India, again, throughout the pandemic. But even just more recently, testing has dropped. And so we can't take the numbers to be exactly as they are. The Health Ministry also said that as well as cases maybe beginning to plateau in these states, that they are going up in at least 10 states, including the poorest, Bihar, which has some of the worst healthcare infrastructure in the country and only one doctor for every 28,000 patients. They also spoke about the situation with the oxygen in the country and reiterated that there is no oxygen shortage. But again, if you look at what the government is doing, the Health Ministry spokespeople were saying that, but the government is still doing everything it can now to bring as much oxygen into the country and transport it using planes, using the Indian Air Force, using trains, because, as we've been reporting, people are continuing to lose their lives from oxygen shortages.
And more criticism, Liz, is being levelled at the government.
That's right, Folly. The government is going ahead with a huge project to rebuild one of India's most iconic areas, which also has the Indian Parliament building, which was built by the British in the 1930s. It was announced on Monday that the project, which is going to cost more than $2 billion and include a new home for the Prime Minister, that the Prime Minister's new residence will be completed by the end of next year. Now, despite there being a very strict lockdown in Delhi, where only essential services are allowed and construction is only allowed if workers live on the premises, workers are being bussed in to dig up central New Delhi. And critics of the project, of whom there are many, say that environmental clearances for this were rushed through without proper consultation. But perhaps more importantly, that this is an area that doesn't need to be rebuilt, that attracts many international tourists, but also local residents who go and spend time there, and that this shouldn't be going ahead at a time when the economy is doing so poorly because of the pandemic over the past year.
Elizabeth, thank you very much for that. Elizabeth Puranam is our correspondent in New Delhi.